Hello everyone, it's UnsungNPC back here with another guide video for you today. This is coming out late, very late. I had a busy evening this evening unfortunately, so time got away from me. But here we are. Today we're going over the feats for casters. So these are all the different types of spell feats. We'll also be going into Metamagic at the end, so I will go ahead and put the timestamp in the description for Metamagic. That way, if that's all you want to see, you can skip right to it and get to the good stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at these spell feats. We're just gonna go in order what we see as we see it, and let's take a look. So first we have like a teamwork feat here, right? Allied Spellcaster. This was in Kingmaker as well, if you're familiar with that game. Okay. So with the aid of an ally, you were skilled at piercing the protections of other creatures. So basically, if you and another ally are both casters and both have this feat, then you get bonus to concentration checks and checks to overcome spell resistance. Pretty useful if you have a caster heavy party. If you kind of have casters that are buffers and only one designated caster that does any damaging or debuffing at all, not worth it at all to take. This is just really only good if you have multiple casters. I mean, it does work with an ally that doesn't cast spells, so like if they have it and you have it, it still works for you, but that's a wasted feat that another person has to take. So unless you have a character that gets free teamwork feats, it's not something that I would invest in. Really only good if you have like a good backline of casters in your party. So, combat casting. Okay, combat casting is great. It increases your concentration checks to cast a spell, which is very, very important for most arcane casters, because arcane casters can get their spells failing super easy by casting in range of another person, an enemy. So if you feel like your caster is getting bogged down by enemies a lot and you're not good at micromanaging that or spatial control with any of that during combat, or you have a caster that is also a melee fighter and caster, then combat casting is the feat for you. I would really focus this on arcane casters. From what I've seen, my paladins and clerics that are frontliners have no issues casting in front of other people, enemies, or anything. So I would focus this on arcane casters if I were you. And but it's a nice +4, which is really, really nice. So I take this on most arcane casters because you never know, especially in this game, you can get swarmed by a whole lot of things, including swarms. So it's good to have that defense, the added bonus to being able to cast spells effectively. Okay, next up, the Dispel feats. I'm very excited for these. Actually, in my playthrough that I stream on here on YouTube, which you should come by the way, I have a character that does really, really good dispelling. So I have Dispel and Greater Dispel. Eventually I'll get that. But I use these two feats, Destructive Dispel and Dispel Synergy, and they work pretty often, surprisingly. So Destructive Dispel, whenever you successfully make a Dispel check against a target to dispel a magical effect, they have to succeed at a Fortitude save or be stunned for a round, or the start of your next turn. If the save succeeds, the opponent is instead sickened until the end of your next turn. So either way, they take a penalty, which is awesome. And surprisingly, even with these demons, I have had a fair number of casting magical demons fail these fortitude saves and become stunned for like a full round, which is just pretty freaking awesome in my opinion. So I really like this feat a lot. It's come in handy building a DC or building a destructive or my bad. Building a Dispel character is working pretty well in my game, so maybe you'd like to give it a try. Next is Dispel Synergy, where if you dispel an ongoing magical effect, that opponent takes a -2 on saving throws against your spells, which is awesome. So this is a situation where I wouldn't do your Dispel person as the same as someone who just buffs or heals, because Dispel Synergy is going to be useless to you. So what I would do is I'd make a caster that does any type of either offensive DC spells or debuffing DC spells, and then make that person your Dispel character, because then what I do is I dispel and I immediately use some sort of enchantment magic or illusion magic right after that causes them problems, and it usually goes pretty well. I have succeeded most of my dispel checks, including ones on like bosses, which is like the most important ones, because a lot of them love to cast mirror image, and I like to get that mirror image out of here. All right, mirror image, cat's grace, shield, blur, those are the common ones that people summon or cast, and I like to get those out. So it's pretty sweet. And the way Dispel Magic works is cool, because you basically use it on the character, and it does a check against all of the magical effects until you get one or you don't get any of them. So that's really nice. You're not just attacking one magical effect. You could fail that check and then try against a different spell at the same time, and it will dispel that one if it succeeds, which is really nice. So Dispel Magic, great. Destructive Dispel, Dispel Synergy, great feats, love them. It is very niche though. I don't use Dispel all the time, right? So you have to keep that in mind, but I think it comes in handy more often than not. More often than not. Next, you've got your elemental focus feats. If you have any elemental casters, or you have Ember in your team, these are great feats to take, because you're going to get these bonus DCs to all of your elemental spells. Now, if you're a ray caster, if you're a ray caster and you're just shooting rays, like ranged touch attacks, If you're a ray caster and you're just shooting rays, like ranged touch attacks, then this is not going to be the thing for you, because it adds 1 to the DC for saving throws. So unless you're a DC caster, or unless you're both, then this is not going to be useful to you at all. But if you're an evocation caster that casts a lot of elemental magic that uses DCs, these are the feats for you. And in case you were wondering, the DC just means that like it's a spell that causes a creature to have a saving throw. Okay? So if you're doing a ranged attack, that's not a saving throw, that's you rolling against their AC, their touch AC. If it's a DC, you'll cast a spell and they have to roll to surpass your DC or match it or whatever they have to do. I believe they have to match it. And if they match it, then they're golden and they don't get hit by your spell. So these increase the DCs, the difficulty class of those different elemental spells. So they're nice. If you have Ember, I recommend taking the fire one, just because she has a lot of fire spells. You might as well take advantage of them. Alright? Okay. Metamagic we're gonna get to, I promise. Okay? We're not going to talk about the crafting scrolls or crafting scrolls or brew potion or anything like that. That's going to be in a different video. Shielded caster. Okay, so whenever you are adjacent to an ally who also has this feat, you receive a +4 bonus to concentration checks. If that ally is wielding shields, a buckler or a light shield, it increases by 1. If your ally is wielding a heavy or tower shield, that increases by 2. Is this useful? I don't think so, because my people that have shields are nowhere near any of my casters ever, besides like other divine casters, in which case they don't need this. So I don't think this feat is ever worth it. I can't see a possible situation where it is, unless you have, for some reason, a shielded character in your backline with your casters and your archers and stuff. If you have that, I guess it's useful to you. If not, I would never take this. Okay? Spell Focus. Spell Focus increases the DC for saving throws for your spells of a certain school. Okay, so you pick this, and then you pick what school you want to do. If you're doing DC spells, usually you're doing Evocation, Enchantment, Illusion, Necromancy, or Conjuration. Divination and Abjuration are not usually against the enemies, they're usually like buffing stuff, and Transmutation is usually buffing as well, except for stuff like Baleful Polymorph or stuff like that that actually might be useful. But taking a DC bonus for one spell, meh, I don't know about that one. But anyway, it increases the DC for a school of spells. So that's something to think about. There's also Greater Spell Focus, which increases that DC further. So as you can see, we can check out Greater Spell Focus, increases it further. Okay? And you can take this multiple times to cover multiple schools, but we're not going to get too deep into the mythic stuff now. I will make videos for that separately. But there are mythic abilities and feats that allow you to take everything that you have spell focus, spell specialization, like stuff like that for, and transfer it over to another school as well, using only one feat usage. So that's kind of nice if you're focusing on two schools, doing it that way. We have Spell Penetration, which gets you +2 bonus on caster level checks made to overcome spell resistance. Lots of demons have spell resistance. Almost all demons have spell resistance. Lots of regular cultists have spell resistance. You want to be able to surpass that. If you're a caster casting against enemies, you need Spell Penetration, and then you need Greater Spell Penetration, and then you need Spell Penetration Mythic. Okay? If you're a truly offensive or debuffing caster, you need those. Okay? Increase it by 2, then you increase it by 2 more, and then you add half your mythic rank, and if you have Greater Spell Penetration, you add your full mythic rank. So that's a lot of bonus. So take it. You want to surpass the spell resistance that people have so you can cast spells on people. Okay? You've got Arcane Armor Training and then Arcane Armor Mastery. This decreases the percentage failure chance you have of casting spells while wearing armor. If you want to make a hardy armored wizard, for some reason, go for it. I never see a reason to do this. I don't think your backline... My backline never gets attacked enough to warrant any sort of thing like this, especially when defensive spells exist to prevent this kind of catastrophe. But if you feel like you want an armored caster, take the 2 feats. Go for it. Use 2 feats that way. I would really only do this on a wizard because they get bonus wizard feats, which kind of makes up for having to spend 2 feats on this just to get a little bit of a decrease to arcane spell failure chance. If you don't get bonus feats, you're really losing 2 feats that you could be putting something towards better. Instead, you're wasting it just so your wizard can look cool in armor. So I don't recommend it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Arcane Strike is also here. As a swift action, you can imbue your weapons with a fraction of your power, which deals damage and are treated as magic. Again, this is meh. There are lots of class abilities that get you this similar thing even better, if you could just be that class. And also, it's like, you find a lot of magic weapons in this game, in my opinion. Like, everyone in my party has a magic weapon before Act 2 even starts. So I don't really see a reason to take this feat. So I would not even acknowledge this one if I were you. Okay, now we're going to get into some of these other feats that are later down the road, or that you can't qualify right now for some reason. So you've got Greater Elemental Focus, Greater Spell Focus. We talked about those. Greater Spell Penetration. All of that stuff is just going to be an increase on the previous spell. They don't do anything new. It's just more of what was happening before. You've also got like feats that are related to bardic performances, channel energies, things like that, that can help your abilities in those classes. So lingering performance allows you to the bonuses and penalties from your bardic performances continue for 2 rounds after you stop performing. So you get 2 rounds extra without having to use 2 rounds of your bardic performance. So it's always nice. Selective channel makes it to where when you channel positive energy to heal your party, you are not also healing the enemy. Very useful. You should probably take that if you channel energy at all. We've got augmented summoning and superior summoning. So augmented summoning gives all of your summons with a +4 bonus to strength and constitution. And then superior summoning, if you have a summon that summons more than 1 creature, it adds 1 more to the total. So both really great spells. There's a lot of summoning with the mythic paths and stuff like that. So I think it's worth it. I think they're worth it to take if you're a caster. If you're a mythic path, but you're like a martial class, I wouldn't worry about summoning because you're not really going to use it that much. And you've got all the extra stuff, so extra channels, okay, extra lay on hands, extra bardic performance, all that kind of stuff. There's greater spell penetration there. We've already talked about that one. Natural spell. Natural spell allows you to cast spells while in wild shape as a druid, which is very, very useful. So if you plan on being a wild shape type of druid or other class or whatever, what have you, I would definitely take natural spell as soon as you can. That way you can cast while as an animal. That's super beneficial. Super beneficial. Worth it for anyone who shapeshifts and wants to focus on shapeshifting. Spells specialization, you have to have spell focus first, and then you can take spell specialization. You choose a spell, and you treat your caster level as being 2 levels higher for any effects of the spell. So any dice rolled, any DC effects, anything like that. It counts as 2 levels higher. Every time you gain a level in your class, you get to choose a new spell. You can keep it the same. You can keep your spell specialization the same, but you can also choose a new one each time. If you get more spells, you get higher level spells, and you want to spell specialize in those, then you can switch whenever you level up, which is really nifty. So I think if you're like a pure caster class and all you're doing is casting, I feel like spell specialization is definitely worth it to be able to get that 2 caster levels higher. I don't know if this works with mythic spells. I assume it does, because Metamagic does. So I'm going to say that it probably does, but if anyone wants to confirm that in the comments, feel free to, if you've checked it out. There's superior summoning like we talked about. And then Warrior Priest is for any divine casters. If you're a divine caster, you get +1 to initiative and 2 to concentration checks. Just nifty to have. It's just nice to have. It's a little feat. I don't think you need it. I think you can skip over this one completely if you want to, but it's there for you if you do. So now we're going to talk about Metamagic. So Metamagic, here we go. Metamagic is feats that you can take, and they change the way your spells work. And when they do this, they also increase the level of your spell. So you get to add a feature to your spell or change something about your spell, but it also gets cast at a higher level. So I would wait until you get at least 2nd level spells to even take any of these feats, because until you can cast 2nd level spells, you're not going to be able to even use Metamagic, because you're not going to be able to cast any of these spells, because they all at least increase your level by 1, except for one of them. So it's not worth it until you have at least 2nd level spells, and even at that, only a few of them are going to be worth it at that point, because a lot of them do increase your spell level by more than 1 spell level. So we are going to go to though, we're gonna look at level increase ones. So there's a couple. Okay, so the first one is Extend Spell. Extend Spell lasts twice as long as normal. A spell with a duration of concentration or instantaneous or permanent is not affected by this feat, so it has to be something that has a countdown timer. This increases level by 1. This is great for buffs. This is super great for buffs. It can be used with Arcane. All of these can be used with Arcane or Divine Magic, by the way. You don't have to be an Arcane caster to use Metamagic. I use it on my Druid all the time, my off-screen game. They're great, okay? Extend Spell is great for buffs, making those buffs really last long and get your use out of them that you can. Especially the mythic, like, there's some mythic spells out there that are crazy buffs, and doubling the time of those is insane. So definitely Extend Spell is a great Metamagic feat to have. If you buff at all, this one is worth taking, hands down, no matter what, in my opinion. No matter what. Even if you're like a half caster, like a pseudo caster, like a magus or a shaman or anything like that, and you only kind of buff but then kind of do combat, still worth it. Those buffs lasting twice as long is insane. So I would do it. I would do it. Okay, so next we have Reach Spell. So Reach, okay, so you can increase the range of a spell. So if it's range of touch, it becomes close. If it's close, it becomes medium. If it's medium, it becomes long. Okay, so they have to be spells modified by this feat that require melee touch attacks instead require range touch attacks. So melee touch to range touch to close, close to medium, medium to long. That's how it goes. You're increasing the steps like that. So yeah. And if you have a range of long already, then you can't do anything. If they have a range of long, they're already as long as they're gonna get. You're not gonna get any further. You wouldn't need to. So yeah, that's what this is. Increases the reach of the spell. Kind of useful. I have yet to be in a scenario where I need my people that far back to where they have to like cast so far away. But if it feels useful to you, go for it. Next one is one of my favorites as well. I picked this up on my off-screen playthrough as well. Selective Spell. Selective Spell takes a spell that affects all creatures, including your allies, and makes it only affect your enemies. Which is awesome. So you can choose a number of targets in the area equal to the ability score modifier used to determine. So you're a spellcasting modifier, okay? And these targets are excluded from the effects of your spell. It does not, you cannot use this if it's a beneficial spell that affects everyone and you want it to only affect your allies. It does not work that way. I'm pretty sure it would still not affect your allies, because I'm pretty sure that's how selective spell is intended to work. So this is for like if you want to use Fireball, if you want to use Entangle, if you want to use Clashing Rocks, any like AoE type of spell thing that you want to use and you want to make it to where it only hurts the enemy and affects the enemy and not you, great spell. Great feat. So that's a good one. Okay, Bolster Spell. Spell now deals 2 more damage per die rolled to all its targets. Additionally, all enemies in 5 feet of the spell targets are dealt 2 damage per die rolled of the original spell. Okay. This isn't saying what the spell level increase is, so I have no idea. You're gonna have to test this one out to see what level it increases by. I imagine it's a lot. This one's a very nice spell. It's just increasing all the damage rolled and then doing and if it's a single target, then any targets within 5 feet also take spell damage as well, which is insane. So that's a really awesome spell. So empower all the numeric effects of your spell are empowered, and they increase by half including bonuses to those rolls. So if you have a situation where you roll a spell, you use a spell and it has a roll as part of it, you get to increase that by half. Okay? Saving throws and opposed rolls are not affected, nor are spells without random variables. So it has to be something where a spell rolls randomly to find out what it is. And then maximize increases it in full. So it's an empowered maximize spell gains the separate benefits of each feat, the maximum result plus the half the normally rolled result. So empowered increases it by half, maximize gets you the max damage you could roll, and then if you do both, then you get to stack those on top of each other. But that's also increasing your spells by 5 levels. So that's a lot. That's a lot. You have to use that carefully. Use that carefully. Persistent spell, if you're using a spell that requires a saving throw and they succeed their saving throw, they have to then do another saving throw to survive the spell effect. So you're just causing the enemies to have to do multiple saving throws. This one's really nice for a debuffer. If you have a debuffer or a big like DC caster in any regard, persistent spell I think is a go-to. It only increases the level by 2. I think it's really, really useful. So I would definitely take a look at that. Definitely take a look at that. And then quicken spell makes it to where you cast a spell as a swift action. Okay, if your casting time is more than 1 round or 1 full round action, you cannot be quickened. So it's anything that's a standard action can then be cast as a swift action. Okay, that's how it works. Casting a quicken spell does not provoke an attack of opportunity either. Okay, so that's awesome. Yeah, quicken spell is a great one. Increases the spell level a lot, 4 levels. Be careful of that, but it's a great feat if you want to get some spells done quickly. And then there was another feat in here called completely normal spell. It was Metamagic. So completely normal spell. You can make your spell a bit less magical. Level decrease 1. A completely normal spell uses up a spell slot 1 level lower than the spell's actual level. So that's nuts. I don't know. I guess the benefit of that is that if you have more spell slots in lower levels, you can push spells down. That way they are able to have more room to do higher level spells and higher spell slots. Level decrease 1. So I guess it's going to change the spell's level as well. So be careful when you do that because you're lowering the effectiveness of your spell. So you have to be wary of that. Okay, when doing this. But seems cool. Seems cool. Okay, everyone, we're back. I'm going to show everyone how to do Metamagic. So when you have a Metamagic feat, you're going to go into your spell book, okay? And there's going to be a little thing down here at the bottom that says Metamagic, the bottom left corner. The bottom left corner. Okay? And then what's going to happen is you're going to choose your spell. So I choose Dispel Magic. Or never mind. I'll choose Echolocation. Okay? And then you get to pick your available Metamagic feats. So I have Selective and Extend is the only one that applies here. So Selective isn't going to work on something like Echolocation. So then you click this, you have to click the thing, and it will fill in a circle here. And it'll tell you your new spell level. So this is a 4th level spell being increased by 1 spell level, so it becomes a 5th level spell. Then you can pick a design that you want. So pick a color, and then you can pick what corners you want done, how you want to do it, and then you click Write Spell. So for example, I did one on Spike Growth that is a selective spell, and I gave it the yellow borders over here. So it's at the point now where it's only going to affect my enemies and not my allies. Okay? And that's all there is to it. That's how Metamagic works. That's how you do it. Right there. Look at that. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. If you use this for feats, if you use this for Metamagic, whatever you use it for, I hope my video was helpful to you. I really sincerely do. I apologize for all the pauses in this video. I don't know what's going on with my chest, but you know what? It's all good. If you liked my video, if you like my content, I have a couple other guides put up. I have a lot more coming on the way. Feel free to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any other content, right? Also, I've got a Discord in the description, which you can check out. That's where my little community is. I have a number of people on there that watch my streams and chat with us in the Discord, so we'd love to have you too. Speaking of streams, I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. CST, and on Saturdays and Sundays, usually at 10 a.m. Time's changing depending. But if you ever feel like catching a stream, I'm playing Wrath right now. It's a amazing time, so I would love to have you and see you there and just chill with you. Come talk game, come talk shop. We're all just in there talking the game away. It's good times. So yeah, feel free to stop by. Anyway, I'm UnsungNPC, and I will catch you guys in the next one.